Hello, everyone. It's been a while, but this is your host, BB Gamer.
And Ep13 of the Wind.
So, we got a special episode today, and as you may know, what we're about to review is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
We had the original Xenoblade Chronicles for Wii, but that got sold off a long time ago, and well,
since then, we've been wanting something like this to be for the Switch for a very long time.
And of course, they announced a definitive edition, which was completely scaled up from the original game, and of course, we got the definitive edition for the Switch.
Along with the rest of the collection of Xenoblades 1, 2, and 3 here, too. I mean, we already have done some of the reviews for them. But in essence, Xenoblade Chronicles is a very massive series. And it was thanks to this that we kind of gotten into this. I admit that things have been a little bit rocky for them, but I'm just glad that this whole game has finally came out 10 years in the making.
Yeah, pretty much. The original Xenoblade Chronicles X was pretty much a big leap from the original Xenoblade Chronicles that we've played. I believe it was just only 1 and 2 that came out, I believe.
Yes.
And then X came out.
And then it came out after number 1. And then number 2 came after it, followed by 3.
Yeah, that's what I think. And so on how the game was in total difference from how Xenoblade Chronicles played, and then the gameplay itself, the atmosphere, the look of the game, everything looked closely to how you usually play a Xenoblade Chronicles game, but with a lot of differences, tweaks, and all the stuff. And
it's basically the quality of life mechanics that were implemented in there,
pretty much. But most of the stuff was done to scale and to how the players remember how to play the original Xenoblade Chronicles X. But the one that usually highlights the game are the mechanical scale weapons that you play in and able to traverse the lands much more easier than you're on foot. So
compared to the other basically the other Xeno titles, just like Xenogears, Xenosaga, and now the Xenoblade Chronicles, having these scales makes you feel very powerful and very OP in a sense, but it also gives you that rush of feeling once you feel like that you're able to use these big machines to traverse and beat up certain monsters that you couldn't before. And it gives you a sense of feeling that you accomplished something. But the main thing is that once you start the game, it does take a little bit of time getting used to it and a slow pace. But once you get to that certain point where you get the scale license and the scales, everything opens up to you.
The whole world is your oyster. You can go traverse most of the places, but like once you get your first scale, you can move faster. You drive around because they transform into cars and traverse all over the place. But you won't be able to like do anything like flying until you get the fly modification onto the scale. That's when you're able to go and fly all over the place and start doing all of the traversing and finding all the stuff that you need to do. It opens up a lot. And from what we did to play the entire 12 days, it took us like about nearly a week and a half to complete the entire game.
Yeah.
And I have to say that the game itself is pretty
phenomenal.
Yeah, pretty intense. The graphics have been changed from how it used to be in the old days.
Not to mention the UI. It's more how should I say, intuitive and easy to access without having to go through looking through your pad and then up there in the other screen back with the Wii U. But it's more accessible to everybody.
Pretty much. So you got all of these characters that you also have to interact, like the usual. What were they called? The interactions, heart to hearts.
Heart to hearts.
Yeah, that's what they were called. The heart to hearts to the characters to get the in-depth story behind them, as well to do these missions, and then the individual missions with these other
NPCs,
the Xenos that are in the series now, in which you befriend, and there's a whole lot of them in there. So,
and let us not forget about, how should I put this? The story is very okayish. I'm not saying it's like mind bending, but the main issue for us both is that the story was kind of meh, especially with the ending during the first Xenoblade Chronicles X.
it left a cliffhanger that left a lot of questions, and it kind of felt like a bad taste in your mouth when you didn't have that satisfactory ending, and they didn't continue the story even when they were supposed to do it back then. And it really didn't
pan out for us back then. So,
but that kind of changed once this game came out for the Switch, and we had that 13th chapter.
it was made in 3 parts, and it gives a good conclusion to the whole thing as the whole game as a whole. And I really feel like it really gives a big impact, especially spoilers for the third one. It leaves on a certain ending that might have connect the future redeemed part to this. But that's my speculation.
There's going to be a lot of speculation on depending on what people think the ending was all about. But yeah, it's all up to interpretations to those who want to at least dive deep into the lore of what happened at the ending. So we'll leave that to the people who want to at least do that. But in any case, what would you want to give a score for this game?
It's really tough. To be honest, back then, from what I would think, back then in the Wii U era, it was a 7.5, which was kind of a downer because the story really didn't give us more insight of what Mira was. The ending was kind of like, why did they stop it there?
Yeah.
Why didn't they continue it? The only thing that kept it going was the combat and the scales, of course. But Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition really kicked it up a notch for me, and I really enjoyed the story. So, personally, I would give this a 9.5.
I would probably put it up at a 9. So that way, I mean, I would want to give it a 9.5, but there are little issues with the game because for me personally, you get too in-depth into everything and you forget about the story itself.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as you said, the story in this game is still the same. But if you dive yourself deep into all of the characters and all of this other stuff, you kind of immerse yourself with all of them. And the story's kind of like set to the side up until like the end. So I believe it is deserving a 9 out of 10 for me, at least.
So basically, that's all there is for our little take on Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. But the major thing that I want to talk about mostly about is the Switch 2 reveal. And boy, oh boy, it was a reveal. Of course, I'm not going to say that it is like a phenomenal thing, but it has a major issue.
The issues is that, from what I've heard, like from all of the news outlets and some of the YouTubers who are getting the information from, like who did the reviews for it, like I want to give some shout outs, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys can find them on YouTube, but
yeah, I mean, we're not taking credit for anything about.
we just get the information from them.
Yeah, we want to give it to you guys in our own opinions, but
Yes.
we're not stealing from you.
Yes. So
But
pricing for the Switch is
$49.99,
which is like $450 if you round it up anyway. But
if you
it is kind of costly to them, and
Yeah.
I heard that it's from what I heard is that it's because they're blaming the tariffs that Trump had implemented, and that is bullshit from what I heard.
Yes,
Because that's what Nintendo priced this system as.
indeed.
But the problem is that it's priced at $449.99 here, while in Japan they're priced at $399, which is way less compared to the ones here. But I'm not too sure if it is.
But people have been clamoring to drop the price, and
Oh.
I just hope they get the hint, because I too want to buy the Switch 2 at a fairly decent price. But
It doesn't really matter to me because
Same
even
here.
if they do sell it at a lower price or at this price, people are still going to get it.
Yeah.
That's what I heard from some of these YouTubers who have been reporting on this.
And honestly, the games that have been announced for it is very good. I will admit that there are some games that are priced at freaking $79.99, which is over $80. I don't know
What could
what
you do?
the heck is going on, but
Well-
I think they better drop the price lower than that, because everybody's
Everybody's raving about that because, I mean, you're just only going to buy the Switch once, but once you're buying a game, it's going to be
super expensive.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, who would want to buy an 80 or 90 priced game?
Definitely not.
Most of the regular games costed like about
49?
Yeah, 49 to like 60.
$69.99.
Yes, somewhere around there. But honestly, that's like an inflation on all the games that are interesting for us to want to play, but it's going to be hard for us to even see which kind of games we can afford, at least.
I know. I mean, personally, I think this whole situation needs to be resolved quick, because they did say that they're postponing the pre-orders up until the 9th of this month.
Correction. I've learned that it used to be the 9th, but they canceled that and they aren't going to release the pre-orders until later date, from what I heard. So that's the only downside from what I heard, because it was originally supposed to be pre-orders on the 9th, but now they are going like, we are not going to put it up until much later, until this situation is resolved.
And not to mention, since they also need to make sure scalpers don't get their grubby hands on those pre-orders.
Scalpers. That's also another thing to worry about, but that's
Nintendo has their own implementations. Like, for instance, you have to have your own Switch game and play 50 hours on a certain game.
Well, if that will help keep the scalpers out, then that'll be the thing. So,
Yep.
But for now, is there anything else you want to talk about, or is that about it?
Well, I'd like to give a little shout outs to, let me see, Clownfish TV. They're the ones that also gave us insights on the Nintendo situation, along with the quartering, if I recall. And not to mention, one more shout out to, is there like a certain YouTuber that you said that gave you more information on the Switch 2?
My mind's drawing a blank, but I hope I could figure that out sometime. But I want to be able to give a shout out to the people who we watch the most to get the news, and us for able to get our own opinions out there for all of you guys to see.
Indeed. But in any case, we hope that this video is alright for you guys. I mean, we've been having a lot of things on our end, but we plan on trying to get more videos within the coming weeks and give you more insight of what we think is going on in the news on games and certain games that we're going to review. So
Yes, and also I plan on trying to get some more content for my channel. So, but it is going to be iffy because of situations here at home, but I will try my best.
all right. Well, in any case, this is your host BB Gamer,
And Aventus is the one.
and we'll see you again next time.
Bye, guys.